Yes, we'll close the doors and we'll kickstart the session. But before we start the session, let's do a little bit of yoga. Yeah, let's do a little bit of yoga because Babaji says yoga se sab kuch hoga. So put your hand out, everybody, like this. Stretch it out nicely. Everybody. Yeah. Put your second hand out as well. Join both hands. Push it up behind your head and say, ah. Yeah, give yourself a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, thank you so much. Now, we got a power pack presentation coming up. I'm not saying that because of the biceps that you see on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, here to talk on the topic titled Sitecore, on the way to the cloud. And allow me to introduce the gentleman who will be presenting it. He is currently the senior software engineer at Sitecore Malaysia. Let us all welcome on stage Mr. Victor Kusharov.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Victor Kusharov. I'm here from Sitecore support. Today I'll be speaking to you about Sitecore in the cloud. And firstly, let me tell you more about myself. I have around 8 years of experience in the different Microsoft stack technologies. A little bit more than 4 years I worked at Sitecore, specifically in the product support service department. And 3 years ago, I was relocated from Ukraine to Malaysia. Let me tell you what brought me to Malaysia. 3 years ago, in Asia-Pacific region was a very young and promising market for Sitecore. And we already had an office in Kuala Lumpur at that time, and a business requirement to build a strong support team to be able to support all the region, and as well as to have an ability to provide a full 24/7 support coverage for any our premium customer in the world. At that time, the team had only around 5 engineers, and we had to build a much stronger team. As a result, over the last 3 years, we have built a strong team. We have now 15 engineers. We can cover all the Asia-Pacific region load. And what it actually means for you, currently we are able to react to any of your issues according to the priorities immediately. So today I work in the escalation team, mostly on the cloud related and high priority tickets. Also, I'm performing some escalation managers activities. I already know many of you. I have had an opportunity to work with you on your projects and issues for the last 3 years. So I'd like to say that I'm really happy to be here and see you face to face today. Okay, here you can see a small agenda for today. I'm gonna speak around 45 minutes, and then you will be able to ask your questions. So, here at Sitecore, we really believe that Sitecore in the cloud is a great offering. That's why the first thing I'm gonna speak today with you is whether you need Sitecore in the cloud or not. What are the available options to go into the cloud with Sitecore now? What are the differences between them? How to choose the correct one for you? We will have a short demo on how to provision a Sitecore in the cloud. We will review all the created resources, and hopefully, if we have enough time, we will have a demo of some of them. And finally, I'm going to show you the way on how it's possible to deploy your code into this solution. As a result, during the presentation, we will create a Sitecore-based solution in the cloud. And hopefully, you will understand how easy it is to build a cloud-based solution in the cloud using Sitecore Azure, using Microsoft Azure. And if you still have no cloud experience, I would be happy if after the presentation you will feel confident enough to start your cloud journey. And as I told you, the first part would be to answer the question, do you need Sitecore in the cloud? As part of this presentation, I decided to focus only on the strengths part of Sitecore in the cloud. On this slide, you can see points which I believe are the most important. The first one is scalability. Having a Sitecore in Azure, you are able to scale up and out your environment. So you can scale up to add additional power to all your resources, and you can scale out to add an additional instances to your environment. This is available in the manual mode as well as the automatic mode. You have a complete control and confidence that your projects will not face any infrastructure barriers or any capacity limitations, and you don't need to buy any physical servers anymore. You even don't need to have an admin team to install, configure, maintain all this stuff. You can change your hardware or environment just in a few clicks. And the next step here is reduced cost, pay as you go. What does it actually mean for you? It means that you pay only for the consumed resources. So if you have some increased load, unexpected load, you can just add, you can scale out your instances and add an additional resource. When the server is not required anymore, you can just remove it. And as a result, you will pay only for those days when you had the server. I believe you agree that installing and removing a physical on-premise server in this situation would be much harder. They can give you one real example from our actual customer. They have, due to the nature of its business, they have a very different load and traffic on weekdays and work days. So what they do? Before the weekend, they scale out their resources, and on Monday, they scale it back. So as a result, in this way, they save money for their business. They use an additional server instances only on weekends, at the time when there is a necessity in this. The next point is native support by Sitecore. Sitecore natively supports Azure Web Apps for hosting, Redis cache for session storage, application insights for health monitoring, Azure Search for search engine, and Azure SQL for databases. So what it means for you, all the stack is already familiar to you. Maintenance. As I said before, you don't need to have any admin team anymore. You don't need to apply any security patches, updates to your operation system. You always have updated and ready to use environment. Depending on the chosen way to the cloud, it's also possible that Sitecore support will be in charge of the resource health checking of your environment. But I'll talk about this a bit later. The next point is uptime. Microsoft Azure is able to provide a 99.9% of uptime. It's not likely you'll be able to achieve a similar level of result on your own on-premise servers. And the last point is easy and fast. What it means, it's never been easier to deploy Sitecore in the cloud. You are able to provision a new Sitecore environment and get a ready-to-use solution in less than 1 hour. So my answer to the main question today is yes, you need to go to the Sitecore, to the cloud, if not today, then maybe tomorrow, but you will definitely benefit from this. And the next topic is current offerings from Sitecore. And the first one would be Microsoft Azure Marketplace. I will show you a short demo on how to use it, and then we will discuss it in more detailed way. I know that Microsoft on the yesterday's session showed the same, but since we have much more people today here, I will repeat the same to ensure that everyone understands how quick and simple is it. So here is portal, Azure portal. We need to create a new resource. You can type Sitecore here and press create. There are only 4 steps which you need to perform in order to start the provisioning. And first of all, you need to choose the Sitecore version. Only 9.0 and 8.2 are available here. What is the difference in the next steps depending on the chosen version? If you choose 8.2, as you know, it's using Mongo, so you will need to provide a Mongo connection strings. Where you can get them, there are 2 possible ways. You can provision a virtual machine and install a Mongo, or you can go to MLab portal and it provides you with a free sandbox with a limitation of 500 megabytes. It's not enough for production usage, but it's definitely will be enough for development purposes. Let's check, choose the last version. topology were already discussed on the previous session. So depending on the chosen topologies here, you will have a different architecture of your environment. But you actually can change it later. Also, you are able to choose additional modules like commerce and other. Here you should choose the needed locations, regions of your resources. Not all resources available in the all location, and also all locations have different prices, so be aware of this. So here you need to put your Sitecore admin password and a password for SQL user. You need to choose the license file and provide your certificate or auto-generated. And here you can download the certificate. The last step is to review the legal terms, accept them. So, and now we have started the provisioning process. Deployment is in progress, and in the average, it should take around 30-45 minutes. So when we want to use this approach, I see the main options the following. The main reason would be if you don't want to, if you want to maintain your resources on your own. So Sitecore support will not be involved here. Only you have an access to your Azure resource groups. Another reason could be if you have some fast turn or short-lived projects. So you can remove the project as fast as we will create it today. And another reason could be if you want to test something in the cloud, some features, and also remove this set after that. There is one more slightly different way from this. This one is called Azure Toolkit. But for the purpose of my presentation, I decided to combine them. Under the hood, they are very similar, and they both will give you the same result. The difference is that Azure Marketplace uses predefined scripts. You don't see these scripts, and you don't need to have any technical skills to provision this environment. And Azure Toolkit is actually the same, but you can download the scripts from our Sitecore GitHub And the purpose of this is if you need any type of customization in your environment, if for some reason default environments are not suit your needs, then you can download these scripts, fix them how you need it, and use Microsoft Azure Toolkit. The tool will ask you for your Azure portal credentials, and after you run it, it will deploy the Sitecore to the Azure portal. So result will be the same. And the next offer from Sitecore is Sitecore Managed Cloud. Currently, this is a major Sitecore cloud offering. You get all the benefits of cloud plus Sitecore support. Sitecore support will be performing health monitoring for all your resources, and it will allow you to focus only on your code, on your project. Today, this is a choice of more than 400 customers. So you will still have a full access to your Azure environment, to all your resources. You still will be able to perform any configuration changes, scaling, and so on. What will be done by Sitecore support here? First of all, Sitecore support will provision this environment for you. You don't need to do this. Sitecore support will provide you with all credentials, all this stuff which you need to continue to work on it. Sitecore support will do the health monitoring of all your resources in the 24/7 mode. Sitecore support will deliver the service catalog for you. What is it? Service catalog contains a lot of actually different services which you can request from Sitecore support. It's like changing some securities, access rights to remove your set, reprovision a new one, and things so on. Also, Sitecore will monitor your environment for any outages. So, depending on the reason of this outage, Sitecore will fix it, or you will be notified about this issue. So, here is a small comparative table. And the first one is Marketplace and Toolkit. So the fundamental difference between them, if you need some kind of customization, your choice is Azure Toolkit. If you good with Marketplace, with a standard topologies, you can use Marketplace, and it will be the fastest and the simplest way. In case of Managed Cloud, everything will be done by Sitecore support. Access differences. In the first options, only you will have an access to your environment, and only you will be performing all health checks and maintenance. In case of Managed Cloud, Sitecore support also will have an access to your environment. Sitecore support are not allowed to change anything without your confirmation or your request. But anyway, we need this access in order to be able to provide this service catalog and to perform health monitoring. And the next slide contains all the Azure resources which will be ready when provisioning is finished. So currently it's still in progress, but I have an ready deployed solution. We can use it for the demo purpose. So here you can see a ready-to-use solution. We have here application inside. This is a point where all Sitecore logs and other health monitoring information is collected and stored. This is a point where you can analyze all this data. We will get back to it later. Also, we have here search service. And here is our CD instance. We have application service plan and application service. What is the difference? Application service plan, it's some kind of wrapper for application service. So you can, as a rough example, you can consider this service plan as a virtual machine and application service as is. All your scaling operations should be done on the application service plan level. Here we can see the same for CM, the same for processing and reporting service. The next resource we have here is Redis cache. We need Redis cache here for session storage. And a lot of databases. As you can see, we have two SQL servers, the first one and the second one. The reason why we need two SQL server is probably you will want to configure firewalls in a different way for content management databases and for content delivery databases. To make it simple, we have two SQL servers here, and you can configure them in a different way. Let's review the application service plan for the CD server. Here is our scaling options. The first one is scale up. As I told you before, this is an option how you can increase your power, increase the power of your servers. There are a lot of different options. You can choose any one which suits your needs. There are a different CPU, different amount of memory, different amount of disk space, and also the included features are different for all pricing tiers. So you should check it carefully of what you need. And the more interesting here is scaling out. Scaling out is the way of scaling, the horizontal way of scaling. you are able to increase the amount of your instances. So currently in my solution, as you can see, I have a predefined amount of CD servers. I have 2 of them. And I'm able to change this amount manually. So from 1 to 10, but actually this depends on the chosen pricing tier. Let's leave it for 2, and the interesting part here is auto-scaling. There are a lot of different rules which you can specify, and based on these rules, your environment will be auto-scaled. So as an example, we can choose a different criteria, different metrics. Here is a CPU percentage, memory, disk, and so on. Let's choose the CPU percentage, and we can create a rule that if CPU percentage is greater than 70% for the last 10 minutes, we can perform some action. For example, increase the count of instances on 1. So what we just did. If your CPU level for the last 10 minutes will be always higher than 70%, Azure will scale out your resources. So in general, we will have 3 instances instead of 2. Here is a settings cooldown. So after a few minutes, if it's still not enough, an additional instance will be added, and we will have 4 of them. This is a good way to handle the load until you will not find out what causes this load. And we also can add a rule on how to decrease the amount back. So for example, the same CPU percentage, if we have it less than 30% for the last 10 minutes, we can decrease the amount of instances. And these 2 rules will work both in the same time. Another interesting resource here is Application Insight. It collects log files from all your Sitecore servers at the same place. So currently you can see that here is 5 live streaming servers. This is CM, processing, reporting, and 2 of my content delivery servers. So what is the simplest way to check Sitecore logs? We can search in Application Insights and use filters. Here you can check the needed row. So we can only check the logs from the CD server. We can also change the time range for the last 7 days. And for example, perform a search for the need to see only errors. And you see here you can see all the errors which were on my CD server for the last week. You can observe each of them, and here also many other options which can simplify your analysis. For example, you can open all available telemetry 5 minutes before and after this event. Yes. When you come to Sitecore support, it's often that the engineer asks you to provide Sitecore logs. In case if you use Sitecore Managed Cloud, the engineer will not ask you for logs because he has an access to it. So what to do if this is your marketplace environment, which we don't have an access, and you also can't collect the logs from here to provide Sitecore support. On our knowledge base article site, we have an article on how to collect these logs. It actually, here is an analytics button. It allows you to open a new portal where you can analyze all the logs collected in the application inside. It uses its own language to analyze the logs, and from here you can export any logs to CSV format, and after that you can pass it to Sitecore support. So that's not a problem. So, and finally, the last slide here is content deployment options. So, it's a logical question. What are the ways on how you can deploy your custom code base to this ready solution? Actually, there are 3 available options. The first one is hook up your source control system. This option was discussed yesterday on the Microsoft presentation. I will not repeat it again, but the main purpose is for production environments. So nothing which contains error can't be passed to production using this way. So firstly, you pass your code to source control system, and after that, Microsoft Azure pick up this code and deploy to the Azure, but not to production, to the staging environment. After you check the staging environment and you ensure that everything is okay, work correctly, you can press swap button on the CD server or CM, depending on what was the target. And the next step is deploy from Visual Studio. This is the best way to deploy your code for deployment and testing purposes. Of course, if there are any errors, any bugs, it will go to production immediately. So you should be careful with this option. And the last one is deploy via FTP. I can show you quickly how to deploy from Visual Studio. Each of our Sitecore instance, CD, CM, reporting, any of them, will have a button here, Get Publish Profile. When you press it, you will download the published profile in the XML format, which contains all the needed for Visual Studio information to deploy your solution. How it works. Here is our CD server. It has a default Sitecore page. And here I have a simple project with only one layout. It's default Sitecore layout. I just want to change something in order to be able to see the changes. And clicking on the project, you can choose Publish, and Visual Studio allows you to create a new profile here and import profile. This import profile button actually means this file which we just downloaded. And we press Publish. Yesterday on the Microsoft presentation, there was a question on how to deploy your code to content management server, how to deploy it to content delivery. So the answer is simple. You can just have two published profiles and publish your changes to both of them. Here you can see our change. So the publishing is very simple. So, and actually this concludes the presentation. Just to summarize the main part of my presentation, when you need to provision a Sitecore in the cloud, you have a few options. If you are good with standard Sitecore architecture, your choice is Azure Marketplace as the simplest way. If you need any customization on your Sitecore architecture, your choice is Azure Toolkit. But as a result, both ways will give you the same result, blank Sitecore environment, but with a different architecture. And deployment, there are two main options. To hook up your source control system for production environment, and you can use deploying from Visual Studio for development purposes. But if you want to remove all the stress of day-to-day management of all your resources, I strongly believe that our Sitecore Managed Cloud is the best offer for you. Okay, and thank you very much for giving me your attention today. It's been a great privilege to speak to you. I'm happy to take any questions. Yes.
So one of the questions that I have is currently when we are using Sitecore so a lot of times we want our the content from our production to our staging environment. So we do manual refreshes or use any a tool. How does it work in Azure? Let's say if we want to take a backup of whatever there is in production tool or staging environment for testing or for some other purposes, how does it work in Azure? Who does it?
Sorry, I'm not sure I get your question.
So, like right now, our authoring happens on the production side directly. Our, whatever the content is authored on the production side directly. And a lot of times we take backup on our QA or staging environment. And that happens, we do it via utility or taking manual refreshes, SQL database refreshes. So if I want to do the same thing on Azure, how can it be achieved?
So the question is how you can make backups in Azure of your applications, service, and Azure databases.
Yeah, so the content databases, how can I take backup or from the production environment to the QA or development environment if I want to take?
Okay, so in case if you use Sitecore Managed Cloud, this is a part of service catalog. You can actually request Sitecore support to provide you with all your backups. You just pass open Sitecore support ticket, and after some time we will provide you with backups of databases and your solution. In case if you use your own Azure subscription, you can choose any database and make the backup from the Azure portal. It's pretty easy.
So just a question, is there an automated way of doing it on the Azure thing if we have to schedule it regularly?
Yeah, again, if you are using Sitecore Managed Cloud, there is a plan on automatic backups, yes. That's in place. But in case if you use your own Azure subscription, there is no already configured backups. But it's up to you. You are able to do it on your own.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, hi Victor, this is Hussein from Wipro. I have one question with regards to managed cloud. When you say that you have 99.9% availability.
Excuse me, could you please speak louder?
Yeah, when you say, yeah, it's Hussein. Is it clear?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so when you say 99.9% availability on for hosting infrastructure, correct? When we go for managed Sitecore cloud. But what I understand from the topology is you are using base tier for the app services, correct? So what about the backup?
Sorry, what was the question?
The app service plan,
yes.
When you go for basic tier, you won't have a backup facility.
Yes.
Correct. So, but when you say that when we move for managed Sitecore cloud, so and you say that you will provide 99.9% availability. So, who will take care of the backups? Because it's a basic tier. It's not standard or premium.
In case of the managed cloud, Sitecore support will take care of backups.
So we don't have to upgrade to a standard plan in that case?
To be honest, I'm not sure the correct answer here. You can come to me after the presentation and we will check it.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. One more question.
Yes.
If you go for the marketplace and when we go for managed Sitecore cloud, what's the cost difference or any figure, what cost difference will be there?
Okay, as for the marketplace, when you choose the needed tier, Microsoft Azure Place shows you the price for this resource of this tier. So you can see the amount of needed money on yourself. In case of managed cloud, it works in a different way, and I'm not sure about all these details.
Oh, okay, no problem.
But they are definitely different prices.
Yeah, no, so just wanted to understand, when we go for managed cloud, is license also included with the subscription?
No, license is not included. From the technical perspective, I'm not sure if there are any legal things which do not allow you to do this. But from the technical perspective, you can use any license which you use for on-premise servers. You can use this license to provision a set in the marketplace.
Okay. And when we do a scale out for the app service,
Sorry?
when we do the scale out for app service, right? Instead of 2 CD, we can go for 3 CD or 4 CD, right?
Yes.
So in that case, is there again price change, or we have to pay something extra?
Yep, sure. If you have 2 instances, you pay for 2 instances. As soon as you scale it out, and as a result you have 3 instances, you will be paying for 3 instances.
No, that is for marketplace, I understand.
Yes.
But when we are in managed cloud, will it be charged extra from the Sitecore?
No. Yes, you will be extra charged, but the prices are not the same as in Microsoft Azure Place. And I'm not aware of this difference. So yes, when you use managed cloud, you also can go to the Azure portal and scale your resources. But what are the prices there? I don't have this information.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Hello. Yeah, I have one simple question. Like, you showed us the 2 options. One is like, FTP deploy, and then the other is like Visual Studio source control, right? Like I'm using like, TD GitLab integrated with TeamCity and followed by Octopus deploy, continuous integration and is it like applicable, this one?
Yes, it was actually the first option to hook up your source control system, and I can show you in the Azure portal there are a lot of different options. So you need to choose your CD server, and here is a menu for deployments. So here is it. You need to add a new deployment option, and here is available ways to do this. You can use GitHub, Bitbucket, and so on.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
So do you have any tool for code compliance? Because most of the clients are in need of like the code compliance as part of the GDPR policy. So do you see anything in coming with Azure?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure I got your question.
So, I mean, once we complete entire deployment, right, the most of the things, the client comes and asks us like, okay, everything is perfectly running fine, but do you have any tool which gives us to check the code vulnerability as part of the GDPR policy?
No, as I know, nothing like that we don't have yet.
Okay, due to the paucity of time, ladies and gentlemen, the next question would be the last.
Yeah, my question is that if customer goes for Sitecore managed cloud, so is it only the production environment that is supported by Sitecore support? Are the lower environments included in this offering like QA and staging? Or they have to be managed by the vendors, or the customers themselves?
Could you please repeat the question?
My question is, when a customer goes for Sitecore managed cloud offering, so does that include the lower environments as well, like QA environment or the staging environment? Or is it only the production environment that Sitecore support will provide the support for?
This actually depends on your contract. Both ways are acceptable. So if you need two environments, one QA and production, you will have two environments. If you need only one, you will have only one. This depends.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you, Victor. Ladies and gentlemen, can I hear a big round of applause? Thank you very much for that presentation.